What's up, guys? It's Andrew, and today I'm here with Andy again. Have you ever wondered why you like to do certain things and not other things? The answer could lie in your core values. Here's an explanation for what core values is in three parts. And the first is a definition of core values. The second is why values are personal. And third is how we can use our values. So I'll give a little explanation here. First, a definition. So core personal values are guiding principles that dictate behavior and action. They help people know what is right from what is wrong and help determine if they are on the right path to achieving their goals and objectives. Values create a guide, and values are beliefs and convictions that support everything that you do in your life. And then second point is why values are personal. Values are the essence of who we are. Values are the principles that you hold to be of worth in your life. Values are not chosen. They're inherent to each person. If your own personal values are unclear or are not identified, it will be difficult to plan and effectively create or achieve the life that you want, including health, relationships, professional, and other areas. And then third, how we can use our values. Values are a compass for life that helps you in both charted and uncharted territory. If a person knows what their values are, they can use them to accurately assess their actions and behaviors. Getting them defined and properly calibrated is one of the most important steps in redirecting your life toward your goals. Reflecting on your values will help you evaluate and refine what is truly important to you and what matters most in life. Yeah, so with that explanation and opening, I just wanted to start our discussion about what are some of your core values and why. Maybe do you want to start or do you want me to start?
I can start. I kind of want to, but before I guess we start, I kind of want to, I guess,
Comment.
rephrase or reword that last point,
Mhm.
that you mentioned, because it's not super conscious. Like when you kind of think about values and stuff like that in terms of them guiding your life and stuff, unless you're writing this out for like a business plan, or unless you're like actively trying to like put this down on paper and really think about these and let these like dictate your life and decisions. um for the most part it's not really conscious, at least in my kind of experience. A lot of the times you kind of get introduced to a lot of big words. Usually when you come across those, you don't really know what they mean. You don't really know exactly what they mean until you kind of experience it yourself. And over time, as you experience more and more things, and as you think about things more often, then you kind of form a bit of a basis for yourself in terms of what you find acceptable and what you find not acceptable. And this then, unconsciously or subconsciously forms your like compass in terms of just values. I don't know if it's a moral compass, but I'd say it's more of like a value compass. So when an
This
idea comes up,
decisions compass, I think.
yeah. So when an idea comes up, you have an initial gut feeling as to what is right and what is wrong. And that's why, calibration and establishing these values is important, because if someone suggests you an idea, let's say someone was like, hey, let's launch fireworks in the middle of the street on Halloween, right? um that's a really concrete example, right? And you might like a lot of thoughts might come up, right? You might think it's fun, because like fireworks, who doesn't like fireworks? You might think it's exciting because in some places it's not legal, et cetera, et cetera. But the initial thought that you have when someone presents you with that idea, like there's a good chance that a lot of your past experiences, as well as a lot of your stances on your values are reflected in that initial thought. So a lot of people, I think, don't really think a lot about this stuff because it sounds challenging. Like, like, you got to come up with core values. You got to like go through all these words. You got to like look at a list of words and figure out like what resonates with you the most. But if you really want to put it in simpler terms, just if when someone asks you something, just like, what do you think about when you first hear that thing? Like when you first hear like the fireworks thing, for example, if someone invites you out to go do something, if you think about something that you want to do, but then you're like, oh wait, I don't know if that's a good idea. Like those are, all your kind of thoughts and experiences and values kind of at work. So even though this sounds scary at first, it's not, because whether or not you're aware of it, you are using them. So yeah, I just wanted to, mention that to preface all
Yeah,
this.
actually, that's a really good point. And another thought I had was about how you use your time. It'll be more towards these values. Like
Mm.
earlier in a video, we were talking earlier in our previous videos, we're talking about like what's the value of our time, right? And like sometimes, like, well, I think our values do direct where our time goes. Maybe we value our career more than um, let's say relationships. So like I'll like maybe some students would focus all their time in career and like uh, work and um, rather than like maybe their social life and like um, there's no right or wrong answer, but like it's individual. You also said about how values they're subconscious. Um, I think that's actually why we need to think about these because we want to bring them to consciousness. Um, yeah, and like so that we identify how we're making decisions so that we can make better decisions. Yeah. Any like other thoughts, or let's go into our question.
Yeah, no, I think that's good.
Hmm. Yeah.
I think that's good. We
Yeah.
can start off with
Hmm.
values, some values.
Perhaps let's share some of our core values and why that's the case. So for me, my core values are ambition, growth, and gratitude. Ambition because I have a purpose for life and living, and I want to use my life to the fullest and make positive impact on the world. And growth because I know that I won't be perfect and I need to continually improve and learn from my mistakes, as well as gather new information to guide me in life. And gratitude because it's important to count our blessings and know that there are people who depend on us and who also support us in life. And um, it goes into topics about relationships, trust, integrity, honesty, and contribution. So that's these three values. They help me in like in knowing what to take on, what projects to take on, because like sometimes like I might be overwhelmed with like different opportunities and don't know which one to take. But with these values, I can know like which one I would be most passionate about and like can contribute the most. Yeah.
So out of curiosity, how did you come up with these values?
Um, it was through a lot of questions and journaling, and we can talk about it. Yeah, to help us identify our core values, I actually have some questions from Darren Hardy's core values assessment. Um, Maybe you can share which questions might stand out to you. Yeah. So here are some of the questions to help us understand our core values. What in life is most important to me? What does success mean to me? What motivates me or drives me into action? Who is the person I most respect in life? What are their core values? If I could have any more of one quality instantly, what would it be? What are three things I hate? Which three people in the world do I dislike the most and why? Which are the three most important values that I want to pass on to future generations? If I were to teach a graduating high school class values that would give them the best opportunity for success in life, what would these be and why? If I had enough money to retire tomorrow, what values would I continue to hold? What values do I see being valid 100 years from now? And the top dozen qualities of an ideal man or woman. I'll just type it into the chat for you and you can check it out.
Cool. I actually want to talk about the dislike one. What's kind of the logic behind the what do I hate and what people do I dislike? Because I found that to stand out quite a bit from that list.
Yeah. So, um, what I think the purpose of that is to draw at your emotions. Like, what are you like? Yeah, like I think hatred is a really strong word, and that could evoke some emotion. And perhaps you are defending something, and what you're defending is your value. So
Oh, I
it's
see.
a it's an interesting way to get at it. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, huh, interesting question.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So if you're like, okay, I don't like this about this person, you can think about the opposite and
Mhm.
consider that as something that you value. That's
Yeah.
pretty interesting.
Hmm. Yeah. Uh, is there any other questions that stand out, or yeah?
I think like um this is just my opinion, but I think to someone that isn't too accustomed to this stuff, which I'm not like super accustomed to this stuff. Like
Mm,
I don't have like my core values on a piece of paper on a wall somewhere. But I have thought a bit about core values, and just hearing that list, a lot of the questions sound like kind of scary, I guess you could say,
mhm,
in terms of like they're daunting questions because they're not questions that are easy to answer, like just like that, right? They require quite a bit of thought, and I think in situations like this, it's often beneficial to look at what other people are doing. And that's why I found the questions that relate to, oh, who do you, I guess, like admire, or who do you look up to? What are their core values? Like that's something that can really help you out during an exercise like this. And I was actually just thinking about what if you could apply this to, I guess, companies, because I'd assume, I haven't tried this, but I'd assume it'd be a lot easier to look up a company's core values than it is to look up a person's core values. So that's also another easy step to take if you were just curious, if you're like, oh, I wonder what my core values are. Oh, this company is pretty cool and I know a lot about them. I wonder what their core values are. And that kind of is the same idea with like the hate thing. You look at someone similar or something similar, in this case a company, and you try to associate yourself with that versus starting from scratch, which can be a lot more daunting because starting from scratch requires you to answer a lot of the other questions on that list, which are also daunting and difficult. So yeah.
mhm. Actually, what kind of companies would you want to work at? What are their core values? Have you ever thought about that?
I think it takes quite a bit of knowledge
Mm,
to know the companies that you want to work at, because there's all this PR stuff um, that is there for a company,
mhm,
and what is necessarily projected on social media and on the outside may not be necessarily reflective of what is actually like to work there.
mhm,
So that is tricky, and that's
mhm,
why I said, if you know a company really well, then that's something that is an approach. Like looking up their core values is an approach you can use to also kickstart your search for your core values. But if you don't know a company well, then you might have to exercise some caution in creating parallels between what you think the company does versus what you think your core values are. So yeah.
right. And then Like I know in the past you've reached out on LinkedIn to like previous employees of those companies you worked at to like understand like what the company is actually like. Have you ever like touched on values in those conversations or aspects of those?
Not really. Most of
Yeah.
the time I do that because it's really hard
Mm,
to know exactly what you're getting yourself into from a simple job posting. And
mm,
sometimes companies don't have a lot of details on their website.
mm.
So usually when I do that, it's just to get a feel for other people's experiences. But we don't really talk about values that much.
Like I was thinking on the value of communication, like how how important is professional development in that company? Like for example, like are there learning opportunities? Or
Hmm.
like that was the kind of area I was trying to touch on. Do you think like that's an area that you asked about, or like, or do you want to ask about it in the future for like your like future
Yeah.
employee?
Yeah, and I think this actually brings up an interesting point, which is core values in context, right? Like when I'm reaching out to people on LinkedIn for their prior experiences for various companies that I may be interested in, I'm looking for their experiences and what it's like to work there. I'm not necessarily looking for core values of a
Mm,
company or their core values or whether or not those two align. Now, that's something you can use if you
mm,
are applying to a company and you think that their core values resonate quite a bit with you. But core values come with context, and what is what your core values are now may change per situation. It depends where you're at in life, I guess you could say. You
wow.
could really be exploring your career right now, and you might not have a lot of work experience, and you might have certain expectations for your professional life, I guess you could say. So you could have a set of core values there. But that can change in the future if you, like, let's say, switch careers or decide to do something else. And those set of core values professionally might be different
Mm,
from your personal set of core values. So yeah.
wow. That's I think you hit like a nice point there, like how values also depend on context and can change too over time. It's
Mhm.
not like a set of rules that you have to follow. It's actually like a signal for you, like to understand. It's not something you like. Yeah, it's not a rule or a principle, but it's something that can guide you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any final words?
Nope. I think that's
Okay.
pretty much it. I think if for anyone who's watching that hasn't thought a lot about core values, another easy way to get introduced to them is just to look at people that you listen to or
Mm,
you watch or you consume, basically. I think consume is the best word here because it encompasses you following people on social media, you watching their shows, you listening to their podcasts, you watching them on YouTube. So if there's someone that you idolize or if there's someone that you listen to, basically, right, whether it be reading their blog, following them on Instagram, following their Facebook posts and really liking them because they speak to you, following their YouTube channel because they're really informative and you like what they're talking about. Think about, the core values that they might embody. You can even do a Google search, and if you're lucky, they might have written an article or something on it. And yeah, go start with that. Like it's a lot easier to match core values than it is to come up with them from scratch. And when you're getting into stuff like this, that's kind of the best way, at least in my opinion, to start because it's a lot easier to just pick certain core values from things that you're already interested in and ask yourself whether or not they make sense to you. So yeah, that's pretty much my final point.
nice. That's good. Yeah. Nice. That's a wrap for today. Thanks, Andy, for yeah always chatting, and you can find Andy's links in the description. And also thank you everyone for watching. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Comment below on yeah what you found helpful and what other content you'd like to see. If you liked today's content, smash the like button, and click subscribe for our next videos. We'll see you guys soon. Peace.